So take a moment to check in with your standing newly. See what you see. Sense your contact with the ground also. And here, just very simply, a little bit look up and a little bit look down. And see what it's like to look up and to look down. And if you're doing this in a chair, very easily, you can also a little bit look up, a little bit look down. See what that's like. And then come lie on your back. Bend your knees, put your feet on the ground. And begin to make a movement of tilting your pelvis so that you take your lower back a little bit away from the floor and then you let it go. And do that a few times. So you take the lower back away from the floor so your tailbone will come a little more towards the floor and then you let go. Just one more time. Feel as you take the lower back away from the floor, how does that movement travel up through your spine? And then we'll let that go. And then make the movement in the other direction. So you take your lower back a little towards the floor, and then you let that go. And you can notice, do you press with your feet, or do you do something with your belly? Or is it more finding just the movement of the pelvis? Or how is it that you do it? Use the buttocks, or what do you do to take the lower back towards the floor? Let it go. And then go back and forth. One time you take your lower back towards the floor, a little bit away from the floor. And if it's comfortable, let your eyes close so that it doesn't interfere with the movement of your head, if there is a movement of your head involved. And then pause and open your eyes and just see what it is that you see. Stay with your eyes seeing what you're seeing, and then do the same thing with the movement of the pelvis and see, does it change the movement to fix your eyes in one place while you're moving your pelvis in this way? Maybe your head moves or doesn't move. And then if you let your eyes close, does it make a difference? Pause for a moment. Do the movement again a few times, tilting your pelvis, and this time, as you take your lower back towards the floor, look with your eyes closed, look up in the direction of your forehead. And then as you take your lower back away from the floor, look down in the direction of your pelvis or in between your legs. So you coordinate a little bit the eyes moving. See if that also supports the movement of your head. And then don't worry so much about the eyes, just make a few movements of the pelvis. And then let that go. Lengthen your legs if that's comfortable, or if you want to keep your knees bent, that's also fine. So roll to your side and come sit with the soles of your feet together. If you're not comfortable sitting on the floor like this, you can absolutely do this in a chair and just have your feet on the ground. But if you are comfortable, you have the soles of your feet together, and then you can lean on your hands behind you. So in the chair, you can also do this a little bit, or you can find your way. So lean on your hands behind you. See where you've chosen to point the fingers. Are they pointing towards your pelvis? Are they pointing away or to the sides? So however you want to have it is fine. And then in this position, make this movement of the pelvis so that you take the lower back and you round the lower back, and then you a bit arch the lower back, and you see spontaneously what's the movement through your spine and what your head does spontaneously. And begin to also include the knees so that you take your knees a little together as you round the back, and your head can come a little forward. And then open your knees a little wider when you look up. And so you go back and forth like this. Knees opening and closing, the tilting of the pelvis. And then the next time you come with the knees a little closer together, stay there with the knees where they are and continue the movement of the pelvis. See how it is to do with the knees a little closer together, fixed where they are. Then open the knees at a certain point, keep them open, and see, can you keep them open and make this movement of the pelvis? And then coordinate once again. The legs, the pelvis, the head, the spine. You can feel when your knees open wider. You can press a little bit with your hands. Sensing as much of the whole spine participating as is good for you. And then let that go. Lie on your back. Pause. Then roll to lie on your belly. And if you're sitting in a chair, if you're adapting this to the chair, you can definitely do this without being on the belly, and you just can play with what you do with your head in the chair. So if you're lying on your belly, turn your head to one side, whichever side you like, and then have your arms wherever you like. Take the arm that you're facing, the arm that you're looking towards, and bring it behind your back so that you have the back of your hand somewhere on your lower back and your elbows lifted away from the floor. And then in this position, just make a few movements of your shoulder blade where you take your shoulder blade a little forward and a little backwards. A few movements. And so if you're doing this in sitting, you can just have your head turned one way and you have the arm behind the back and you take the shoulder forward and back. Keep with the same arm, but change your head to the other side. And continue on with the movement of the same shoulder. Take care of yourself. If it's too much to have the head turned while you do this, you can put your forehead in the middle. Just a few movements of the shoulder blade forward and back, towards and away from the spine. And then pause for a moment on your belly. Have your arms or head or legs, however you like. And now do the same thing on the other side. So you can do whatever you want with the arm you're not moving. It can be up near your head or down along your side, whatever's comfortable for you. Take the new arm behind your back so that you have your wrist somewhere on your lower back, and begin to move your shoulder blade a little forward and back. And this time, now that you have a sense of what we're doing, also start to notice that as you move your shoulder, you can also feel your elbow is moving through space, and there's this bending that happens in the wrist. When your elbow comes more towards the ceiling, then there's more of a bending in the wrist, and then there's an unbending of the wrist when your elbow comes towards the floor and your shoulder comes forward. Change your head to the other side, keep with the same arm. Few movements, and just take care of yourself. If any of this is too much, you can do less, you can come out of the position. And then have another little pause on the belly. And then bring your forehead to the middle now. And if it's comfortable, put both hands behind your back. And then take both elbows a little towards the ceiling, towards the floor. Move both shoulders a little forward and back. And one hand is just resting in the other one. Change over the hands. so that you have the other hand resting in the other hand. And then let that go, come onto your back and rest. Roll to your side and come sit. One last time. Sit with the soles of your feet together, unless you're doing this also in a chair. You don't need to put the feet together. You can just make the movement without that. And return to this idea of the pelvis tilting and see how it is to do now after what we did on the belly. And if you have any more sense of participation of the shoulder blades and the upper chest, or somehow more of an easy connection between the head and the pelvis, and then come onto your back, bend your knees, and just return to this simple tilting of the pelvis and see how does it go through now. How does the head respond? How is the movement of the spine in between the shoulder blades now? Good. Let that go. Roll to your side and come sit. Make your way up to standing. Take your time. And in standing, take a moment to notice now where you look and and if the up and the down is different. It's just like I was looking and then all of a sudden my head was just like so happy to look up. But see for yourself, what is it that you notice in this movement now? You might also check in with the turning now. Walk around a little bit.